but today I'm teaching you how to make a very important ingredient. This is Duxelle, and anyone who's gone to culinary school or who is a chef knows the importance of Duxelle, but if you don't, that's why I made this video. So mushrooms, they are made of 90% water, and that water can be a pain in the butt when you're trying to make recipes. Now what we're doing here, making Duxelle, is we're finally chopping up a bunch of mushrooms, a bunch of shallots, we're cooking it all together, we're removing all of the water, and then we're soaking it in butter. Now Duxelle, you can make just a huge batch of it and keep it in a Tupperware container. Use a spoonful of it anytime that you're making breakfast, something like that. There's a million ways to make Duxelle out there. I've got a very simple one, and I would love to share with you how I make my Duxelle. Let's do this. So let's get one thing out of the way. The type of mushrooms you use really don't matter. Just your basic mushrooms will work. I'm using a bowl of cremini mushrooms, a bowl of shiitakes, and then check out these beautiful oyster mushrooms I got. You want to make sure that your oyster mushrooms are white and that the gills, they aren't gray. That means it's fresh. We're gonna add some portobellos here for some body, just to take up a lot of space. These portobellos are great, they're huge. Now, all in all, this is actually about 2 pounds of mushrooms, and it's gonna cook down. All of these mushrooms are gonna cook down into a tiny little Tupperware container. You'll see later. Now, if you're gonna spend money on this recipe, spend it on the butter. The butter here, we're using a ton of it, so you wanna make sure you buy a really good one. Now, so we're gonna add all that butter to the pan. So about 4 tablespoons of butter. I'm adding a tablespoon per quarter pound of mushrooms. Now we're chopping up some garlic. I'm using just 2 cloves here, chopping up real fine, throwing it in. We're gonna add that to the butter. 1 medium-sized shallot here. Same thing, chopping it very thin and throwing it in the pan as well. Now we're gonna let these kind of just cook on their own. We can start turning up the heat just a little bit because we have some stuff mixed in with that butter. Into the pan, you do not want a hot pan here. Just warm enough that it's gonna melt that butter down. The last thing you wanna do when you're making Duxelle is to brown the butter before your mushrooms go in. Keep your knife cut small. I recommend a 1/4-inch dice here. If you're gonna go bigger, just make sure everything's consistent. Remember, these mushrooms are gonna cook down and shrink. I want something very small because I tend to use my Duxelle as a stuffing, and in a stuffing you don't want a lot of air pockets, so you want to keep your knife cuts very tiny. So as we're cutting up these mushrooms, we're tossing them right into the pan and we're going to get this cooking started. It's going to take a while. I've got some thyme growing out back, so I'm just going to take a sprig of that, throw it right into the Duxelle as it cooks, and it's just going to add a little bit of complexity to it. Just 2 minutes in and you can see all the water starting to come out of the mushrooms, and then when I scrape the pan, if I see liquid fill back up into the space where I scraped, I know I have to keep going. And you'll know you're done once you take that rubber spatula and you slide it across and liquid doesn't fill in the space that you slid your spatula across. So that's how you know when you're done. Now look at this. This is beautiful looking Duxelle. It's got a nice sheen on it, and that sheen's gonna go away once we throw it in the Tupperware container and we refrigerate it. Now, it's been about a week since I made this Duxelle itself, and it's kind of been in my fridge. I've been using it for all kinds of random things. Now I've got a little bit left in my Tupperware container since making it, and I'm gonna use that for an omelet. I'm just gonna show you real quick an example of what I use it for. But boom, easy French omelet, Duxelle, and let me tell you, this took me like 5 minutes to make this omelet. Super easy, especially when you're using a pre-cooked ingredient like this Duxelle. Now, of course, the astute among you will know that it's used in Beef Wellington. Of course, that's got a pastry shell, so I'm not gonna be using it for that. But I like to take a chicken breast, flatten it out, throw some Duxelle in the middle of it, roll it up, tie it with a little bit of butcher's twine, give it a quick sear, salt and pepper, and now you have a really fancy looking chicken roulade that took really no time at all. As much time as it takes to roll up your chicken and cook it, that's how long it took to make this. So you can make some really impressive stuff with this Duxelle recipe. I recommend that you share this recipe with anyone you think would benefit from it. Your likes and the subscriptions and the comments, guys, I can't tell you, it means a lot. I just hit 50,000 subscribers, and guys, I gotta tell you, it means a lot. So thank you so much for your support of this channel. As always, keep it keto, stay healthy. Peace. Ha!